Why do you always fall for the wrong person? At 3 in the morning, the city is quiet, only the streetlights are still awake. Lin Ai sits on the floor, knees pulled to her chest, her phone glowing in the dark. The screen is frozen on his last message. Don't wait for me. We're not right for each other. It is the third time she has played the same role in a familiar story, the one who gets left behind. Every time she falls, it feels like a moth drawn to flame. She knows it will burn, and still, she can't stop herself from getting closer. Why do I always fall for the wrong person? She whispers into the empty room. The question lands like a needle piercing the fragile composure we hold together in the quiet hours, exposing the confusion so many people carry in love. We circle the same patterns over and over. The right people stand nearby, steady and kind. Yet we're drawn to the ones who feel dangerous. We know it won't end well, and still, we surrender. Is it fate playing tricks on us, or something planted deep inside us long ago? In psychology, there is a concept known as the unfinished business effect, rooted in Gestalt theory. It suggests that unresolved experiences linger in our minds more powerfully than completed ones. These emotional loose ends don't just fade, they quietly shape the choices we make as adults, especially in love. I've seen this pattern again and again in the therapy room. One client, Chenshi, was consistently drawn to emotionally distant men. Her first love was unpredictable, warm one moment, cold the next. He rarely reached out, rarely expressed care. Yet she became obsessed with trying to win him over, pouring herself into the relationship, hoping her warmth could melt his indifference. It didn't. He cheated, and the relationship ended in pain. You might expect that kind of heartbreak to change someone, to teach them to choose differently. But Chen's later relationships followed the same script. The men were nearly identical, self-centered, emotionally unavailable, and silent in the face of conflict. Only after deeper conversations did the pattern begin to make sense. Chenshi grew up with an absent father. He was always working, rarely home, and when he was distant, reserved, emotionally closed off, offering little affirmation. I remember getting a perfect score on a test, she told me, her eyes glistening. I ran home, hoping he'd be proud. He barely looked at it and said, "Keep trying," then went back to work. I remember thinking, maybe I am just not good enough. The love and validation she never received became an unfinished story within her. Somewhere deep down, she formed a belief: if I try hard enough, if I give enough, I can finally earn the love of someone who feels distant. So in adulthood, she kept choosing men who mirrored her father, unreachable, emotionally unavailable, hoping that this time, she could finally get it right. But this is the quiet trap of unfinished business. We think we're searching for love. In truth, we're searching for a second chance, one that doesn't exist. The past cannot be repaired through someone else. The wounds we carry from childhood don't heal by replaying the same story. They heal when we turn inward and make peace with what was missing. There is another invisible force at work in love, one just as powerful: low self-esteem. People with low self-worth often carry a hidden belief: I am not worthy of being truly loved. And without realizing it, they choose partners who confirm that belief. Lin Man was one of them. She was beautiful, capable, successful, surrounded by people who admired her. Yet she chose a man with violent tendencies. The first time he hurt her, he fell to his knees, apologizing, promising it would never happen again. She forgave him. Not long after, he did it again. Her friends begged her to leave, but she always said the same thing: he is not always like that. Maybe I just didn't do well enough. Maybe I made him angry. Deep down, Li Man didn't believe she deserved love. So when she was hurt, she didn't question him, she questioned herself. This belief didn't come from nowhere. She grew up with a controlling mother who constantly criticized and rarely affirmed her. Every decision what she wore, who she befriended, what she studied was dictated. If she resisted, her mother would say, "I am doing this for your own good. What do you know?" Over time, Li Man internalized a quiet conviction: I am not enough. I don't deserve better. And that belief followed her into love. Low self-esteem makes us shrink. It teaches us to please, to compromise, to abandon all boundaries just to keep someone from leaving. We think that if we give enough, endure enough, we'll finally be loved. But love doesn't work that way. The more we betray ourselves, the more we lose ourselves and the less others learn to value us. The truth is simple, even if it is hard to believe. You are worthy of being loved well. Real love doesn't make you smaller. It doesn't ask you to beg, to prove, or to break yourself just to be chosen. It meets you with respect. It grows you, not diminishes you. The real work isn't finding the right person first. It is breaking free from the patterns that keep leading you to the wrong ones. It is healing the unfinished stories within you. It is rebuilding your sense of worth from the inside out. Because when you finally learn to love yourself truly, deeply, without condition, you stop chasing people who cannot love you back. And that is when everything begins to change. Psychology tells us something uncomfortable but deeply true. We are drawn to what feels familiar even when that familiarity hurts. There is a quiet force at play, sometimes called the familiarity trap. It gives us an odd sense of safety around what we already know. And strangely, that includes pain, compared to the uncertainty of something new. Even if it might be healthy or fulfilling, we often choose the comfort of what we've already survived. So we repeat the same patterns in love, not because they make us happy, but because they feel known. Imwe was one of those people. He was always drawn to what he called bad women. Every girlfriend he had shared the same traits: temperamental, self-centered, quick to argue over the smallest things. Some even flirted with other men behind his back. And yet, no matter how many times things fell apart, he couldn't let go. After every breakup, he was the one who reached out first, asking to get back together. "I know they're not good for me," he said, frustration heavy in his voice. "But I just can't stop myself. When I am with them, I feel miserable. But when we break up, I feel empty, like I've lost something." That emptiness wasn't about them. It was about something much older. When we explored his childhood, the pattern came into focus. Imwe grew up in a home filled with conflict. His parents fought constantly, sometimes violently. His mother had a volatile temper and often took her frustrations out on him. His father, passive and withdrawn, rarely intervened. "I used to hide in my room when they fought," Imwe recalled. "I did sit there shaking, wishing they would just stop, wishing my mom could be kinder to me." Those moments, fear, chaos, longing, became his emotional baseline. They were painful, but they were also familiar. And over time, familiarity became mistaken for safety. So in adulthood, he unconsciously sought out relationships that mirrored that same emotional landscape. The chaos, the tension, the unpredictability, it all felt strangely like home. And that is the paradox. Healthy love can feel unfamiliar, and unfamiliarity can feel like danger. The familiarity trap keeps us anchored to old pain. We think we're chasing life, But what we really chasing is a sense of emotional recognition, something our nervous system already understands. But that kind of safety comes at a cost. It keeps us cycling through the same wounds over and over again. Breaking free requires something most people avoid: the courage to choose the unknown. It means recognizing that the past is no longer happening, and that we are allowed to choose differently. Real change begins the moment we step outside what feels comfortable and give ourselves permission to experience something new, something healthier. Even if it feels uncertain at first, there is another powerful illusion that keeps people stuck in the wrong relationships: the rescue fantasy. It sounds noble on the surface. Many people believe they are the exception, the one person who can change someone, heal their wounds, or help them become better. But more often than not, this belief leads straight into emotional quicksand. Liu Yu believed she could save him. The man she fell in love with had a serious gambling problem. Before they met, he had already lost a significant amount of money and accumulated heavy debts. Friends warned her to stay away, but she was convinced she could help him turn his life around. He is not a bad person, she insisted. He has just lost his way. If I stay by his side, support him, encourage him, I know he'll change. So she sacrificed. She cut back on her own expenses to help him repay his debts. She monitored his schedule, pushed him to work, kept him away from old gambling circles. On the surface, he complied. Behind her back, he kept gambling. Each time she caught him, he broke down, apologized, promised it would never happen again. And each time, the cycle repeated. Eventually, Lin Yu collapsed under the weight of her own hope. She couldn't understand why her love wasn't enough to change him. But the truth is simple and difficult to accept. You cannot change someone who does not want to change. Her rescue fantasy wasn't really about him. It was about her need to feel valuable. Somewhere deep inside, she believed, if I can fix him, then I must be worthy. If he changes because of me, then I am enough. But love isn't a project, and people aren't problems to solve. The desire to rescue often masks a deeper need for control, a way to secure love by earning it through sacrifice. But in the process, we lose sight of ourselves. We ignore our own needs. We pour all our energy into someone else. And when they don't change, we don't just feel disappointed, we feel like we failed. But it was never ours to fix in the first place. Real love doesn't require transformation. It requires acceptance. Not blind acceptance of harm or dysfunction, but a clear-eyed understanding that every person is responsible for their own life. We are not here to carry someone else's burdens or rewrite their story. What we can do is choose wisely, care for ourselves, and seek out the kind of connection where growth happens naturally, not through force, but through mutual respect and shared willingness. Because the right relationship doesn't ask you to save someone. It meets you as an equal. There is another subtle, psychological mechanism that often shapes our relationships without us realizing it. Projective identification. It works like this: we take parts of ourselves, often the ones we don't fully understand or accept, and unconsciously project them onto someone else. Then, through their reactions, we confirm what we already believe. Over time, we begin to mold them into the version we expect to see, whether or not that reflects who they truly are. And in the process, we lose sight of both them and ourselves. When Han was convinced his girlfriend was the problem, she is too controlling, too dominant, he said, frustration written all over his face. She interferes with everything. If I go out with friends, she keeps calling. If I want to buy something, she says I am wasting money. If I think about changing jobs, she says I am being unrealistic. I just want someone gentle, someone understanding, he added. Why do I always end up with someone like this? But as we talked, a different picture began to emerge. When Hao wasn't as decisive as he believed. At work, he rarely voiced his opinions, preferring to follow others' lead. In his personal life, he struggled to make decisions and often relied on others to guide him. His girlfriend, on the other hand, was the opposite: decisive, assertive, quick to act, and that contrast wasn't accidental. Deep down, when Hao longed to be more decisive, more in control of his own life. But with that desire came the fear of responsibility, of making the wrong choice. So instead of developing that part of himself, he unconsciously outsourced it. He projected that strength onto his girlfriend. He wanted her to take charge, to make decisions, to carry the weight he avoided. But at the same time, his dependence made him feel inadequate, and that discomfort turned into resentment. So he criticized her for being too controlling, when in reality, she was reflecting something he both needed and resisted. His girlfriend wasn't just his partner. She was, in many ways, a mirror. Her assertiveness reflected the strengths he wished he had. His complaints about her were, at their core, dissatisfaction with himself. This is the trap of projective identification. We create a relationship dynamic based on unconscious needs, then blame the other person for playing the role we assigned them. It is a quiet psychological loop, one that distorts reality. We stop seeing who the other person truly is, and we stop taking responsibility for what is happening inside us. Breaking this pattern begins with awareness. It means asking harder questions. What am I projecting onto this person? What part of myself am I avoiding or denying? Am I reacting to who they are or to what they represent to me? So when we ask, why do I always fall for the wrong person? The answer is rarely out there. It lives within us. Unfinished emotional wounds, low self-worth, familiar patterns of pain, the urge to rescue, the tendency to project. All of these forces, invisible but powerful, can quietly pull us deeper into the same cycles until we choose to see them. The good news is this: it is not too late to change. The moment you're willing to turn inward to face the patterns, the wounds, the beliefs you carried, you begin to step out of the cycle of wrong love. And the first step is simple, though not easy. See your own wounds, the disappointments of childhood, the ways you were hurt by your parents, the heartbreaks you carried from past relationships. These experiences don't disappear. They live within us, like emotional fault lines triggered in moments that feel eerily familiar. But seeing them isn't about blaming the past. It is about understanding the present. Your past shaped you, yes, but it does not get to define your future. Healing begins when you stop running from those earlier versions of yourself and start meeting them with compassion. Sometimes that looks like something quiet and deeply personal. Sitting with yourself and saying, I see you. I know you were hurting. You didn't deserve that. And I am here now. When you can truly accept your past not as perfect, but as part of your story, the grip it has on your present begins to loosen. Another essential step is rebuilding your self-worth. Low self-esteem is the soil wherein healthy love grows. To choose better relationships, you have to believe deeply that you deserve them. Healthy self-worth isn't arrogance. It is clarity. It is knowing your strengths and your flaws and still recognizing your inherent value. And it doesn't have to start big. It can begin with small, consistent acts. Speaking kindly to yourself, even when it feels unnatural. Doing things you're really good at, and allowing yourself to feel that sense of competence. Setting small goals and following through. These moments accumulate. Slowly, they reshape how you see yourself. And just as importantly, you begin to set boundaries. You learn to say no to what harms you. You stop overextending yourself to people who don't respect you. You redirect your time and energy toward those who truly value you. Because love should not require you to abandon yourself. Finally, to break free from the familiarity trap, you have to choose differently. That means stepping outside your emotional comfort zone. It might feel strange at first, choosing someone kind instead of distant, stable instead of unpredictable, emotionally available instead of withholding. You might even feel bored or uneasy. That doesn't mean it as wrong. It means it as new. Try connecting with people who are different from your usual type. Notice how it feels to be treated with consistency, respect, and care. At first, it may not feel like fireworks, but over time, you may discover something deeper. Peace, safety, ease. A love that doesn't exhaust you. A connection that doesn't require you to prove your worth. Breaking old patterns isn't easy. It asks you to face uncertainty, to let go of what is familiar even when it hurts. But the moment you choose something new, you begin rewriting your story. And that first step, no matter how small, is already a move toward something better. The rescuer fantasy convinces us that we can change someone, that if we love them enough, stay long enough, try hard enough, they will become who we need them to be. But the truth is far less romantic. We cannot change anyone unless they choose to change themselves. To break free from the cycle of wrong love, we have to let go of this illusion and begin to accept people as they are. In relationships, we often fall in love not with the person in front of us, but with the version of them we created in our minds. We project our hopes, our ideals, our imagined future, and then quietly expect them to live up to it. When they don't, we feel disappointed, hurt, angry. Sometimes, we even blame them. But no one is perfect. Not them, not us. Real love isn't built on perfection, it is built on acceptance. It has the willingness to see someone clearly, their strengths, their flaws, their limits, and still choose to be there, without trying to reshape them into something else. And just as importantly, it is about offering that same acceptance to ourselves. When we stop chasing illusions and start meeting each other as we truly are, that is when love becomes real. At the same time, projective identification can quietly pull us away from reality. It blurs the line between who the other person is and what we unconsciously place onto them. We lose ourselves in the dynamic, reacting not just to them but to our own inner world reflected back at us. To step out of this pattern, we need to cultivate awareness. The next time a strong emotion arises in your relationship, pause for a moment and ask yourself, is this feeling coming from what they actually did, or from something inside me? For example, if you feel like your partner is too controlling, it might be worth asking, do I secretly wish I were more decisive? Am I avoiding responsibility and projecting that attention outward? These questions aren't about blaming yourself, they're about understanding yourself. Because the more aware you become of your projections, the more clearly you begin to see both the other person and your own inner landscape. You may discover that they're not as flawed as you once believed, and that you, too, have space to grow. It is still early morning. The sky is beginning to lighten. Lina wipes away her tears, stands up, and walks to the window. Outside, the world is slowly waking. She knows this won't be easy. Breaking free from painful patterns takes time. It takes courage. It takes the willingness to face yourself again and again. But she also knows something she didn't before. She is no longer the girl who could only lose herself in pain. She is someone who can learn to love herself. Someone who can choose differently. Someone who can build a different kind of love. So why do you keep falling for the wrong person? Maybe there isn't a single perfect answer. But every time you find yourself caught in the same pattern, there is an invitation hidden inside it. An invitation to understand your wounds, to accept yourself more deeply, to challenge what feels familiar, to open yourself to something new. Learning to love yourself is a lifelong journey. And when you truly begin to do that, you stop getting lost in the wrong kind of love. You begin to attract someone who sees your worth, someone who meets you with care, with respect, with honesty, someone who doesn't complete you, but walks beside you as you become more fully yourself. May anyone who feels lost in love find their way back home, back to themselves, and from there, learn again what it means to love and to be loved.